Hello, ladies and gentlemen, those in between and unaffiliated. Welcome to our initial thoughts over the new DC movie, The Flash. So, we're gonna with our Speed Force powers, Caleb and I are gonna like just hold everybody there and stop time for a second, even though that's not the same, but still that's not what the Flash has. But hold on, listen up. We have opinions and we'd like to discuss them with everybody, even though this movie's canceled.
Yeah, speaking of which, I really haven't seen too much people coming out against this movie. Surprising with Ezra Miller's backstage debacles over the past several months, off the camera debacles.
Yeah.
But besides all that stuff, we probably won't address that too much. I'm more gonna just judge the performance that they put on for this film. So
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to talk about their performance here and not anything out. Well, not that we can't talk about that stuff, but yeah, you're right. For now, let's stick to the movie.
yeah, so your opening thoughts and coming in, were you apprehensive? Were you interested, or were you just kind of seeing it to see it?
Well, my initial thoughts were that I was not impressed by the trailers. They obviously leaned very heavy on iconography, but there's a lot more iconography in this film than people would realize from the trailers. Unless people all probably already know all who are in this movie by this point, given it's a month later since it's been out. But the trailers, very lean much into Michael Keaton as the Batman, or as I don't know if it's the Batman, but it's because his city, like his Gotham City, looks like I guess pre Flashpoint Batman. So this is where we gotta come up with like I guess labels. That's quite modern of me, but no, we have to like designate like who's who. So in Keaton's timeline, Gotham City doesn't look like the Burton universe. So it's kind of weird unless they just were like, let's take all this down and let's remodel.
Yeah, it seems like he's not exactly the Batman that we knew. He's just a closer variant than the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, sorry, my initial thoughts. I actually wrote something down on my board here. Because we're like I said, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So why not flip my board and say this movie made me feel like there is a discussion and or an argument that can be made as to which is a better alternate universe type movie between The Flash and Back to the Future Part Two.
Wow, that's much more divisive for me than maybe some would think. But
Indeed, I figured somebody would at least be like, "Now, hang on a second there." Um,
yeah,
but yeah, initial thoughts. Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised I'm not coming here with pitchforks and torches, like I did with Transformers. This time, I actually seem a bit more on the positive side of this. I'll at least I won't say everything just yet, but yeah, I think I'm gonna flip my sign over and say I'm feeling this.
oh, okay, okay. And I'll say just for the audience, we'll probably do like we usually do on these episodes, which are becoming much more frequent lately, which I don't mind. Or we'll do like 20 minutes of non spoilers, and then we'll jump into the spoiler stuff in the later half.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I can come up with a, well, maybe I could say this movie made me feel like, despite the clusterfuck that the DCEU has been, if this is the way to go out on it, it makes me kind of wish we got a little bit more. Because I've not liked the majority of these movies, and somehow this movie made me feel, in a weird way, nostalgic for maybe what could have been. Like Isaac mentioned, we definitely see a lot more heroes than I would have realized in this one, and it's just kind of like, oh, I there is some of this that I liked, and I never really cared for what they were doing with the Flash. I thought he was the best in the Snyder cut, which, by the way, you haven't seen still, right? Or did you?
I still have yet to see the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Mm. Yeah, I thought he was by far the best in that, and still not great. And so to get this spotlight pretty much at the end, I'm positive Ezra Miller is not going to be reappearing. that seems quite certain by this point. Finally, they served this character right, I think, here, and getting this chance to really focus on that side of the universe and have this very different flavor from all the other members of that Justice League. Yeah, it made me wish that they'd utilized that character a hell of a lot better. But I guess that goes to the just about everything in this DCEU so far. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about all the details because there is definitely a lot, and I'll say I went in with my arms crossed just because I have no enthusiasm whatsoever for these DC universe movies, and I never cared for the Ezra Miller Flash, except for minorly, as I mentioned in the Snyder Cut. But yeah, like you said, the trailers just look like they were going to be like desperately trying to be like, remember you like this stuff, please God, remember. So that's what I was expecting. But where to go from here? Where to start with this film?
Well, hopefully this is non-spoilers, but what is your best thing and worst thing, sir?
Best thing is Ezra Miller, shockingly.
Wow, holy smokes! I doubt anybody on Geekvolution would have like said the best thing is Ezra Miller.
Yeah, and you know me, I Batman '89 is one of my all-time favorite superhero movies. Despite its flaws, it still just has such a it captures such a comic book feel on screen. I just think that thing's wonderful, and I love seeing Michael Keaton back. But Ezra Miller really did just I feel like they stole the show. Both performances I feel like felt very different and very the same at the same time. There's a great continuity there, and in the emotional moments, they also did a great job of selling, which I would have not have guessed with this character of all the silly stuff that we've seen. I wouldn't have thought that those moments would have as much impact as they did. So I was impressed by that. I'm sure you're gonna ask what's my worst thing. My worst thing is the film just has an abysmal visual quality. And we talked with Eric a little while ago. I don't know if it was recorded, and he was mentioning that he too was shocked by the effects. I feel like he almost even downplayed it. He was more complaining like, oh, sometimes they look like early 2000s Rubbermen, but constantly the scenes with between the two flashes, two berries, you could tell that one of them was just a CGI face put on. And sometimes I wasn't even sure if they were doing like face replacement or if they really were just having a rubber CGI face put on just to like smile and nod. And I was like, oh, it jarred me the whole movie. Thankfully, the performance was good enough that I could get past it and just enjoy the dynamic between the two. But man, that was jarring. But how about you? Best thing, worst thing?
My best thing is the adaptation of Flashpoint, and I'm notorious for saying I'm not a fan of Flashpoint for kind of what it is, because I'll make it brief. It's funny how in Flashpoint was meant to reboot and well basically start off the New 52 back in 2011, and it's so funny how that came about and was like the New 52 is like kind of we'll see, like it's been 10 years, so like that's a whole other retrospective for another time, but one of the things about it was that it was very dark and they were trying to be like super edgy and just like, oh, look at like how much we can get away with or whatever it was like. At the same time they were also trying to be open, or what is it, be more accessible to new comic readers. Again, they were just, all it was just trying to get more readers to read comic books. That's the whole reason why. It's for money's sake. um and so it's funny how largely it was kind of looked at in like a very, how do I put this, like the writing kind of can either be like looked at in a comedic sense, or just like, really, you guys are writing this, and there was a lot more like darkness to it. And it's funny how we had Zack Snyder beginning this I guess this era of DC films with like Man of Steel and BVS, and how kind of dark and serious and bringing his tones to the pictures. And so it's very funny how the movie immediately is like, it just began like, maybe minor spoilers, but it just begins in a very light setting,
Mm,
like a bright setting, and almost like everything is sort of okay except for a hospital about to collapse in on itself. Everything's bright, everything's dandy. Look at our heroes, they're all like they're working well together. Actually makes me appreciate if Flashpoint was the end of the New 52 rather than the beginning of New 52. But that's obviously a whole other story in of itself. But
hmm.
it makes me appreciate that Flashpoint is, if this is the case, is the like last part of this Zack Snyder era. Excuse me.
Mm.
What worst thing? I'm gonna have to, yeah, maybe put a hold on that, because usually I'll just be like, this is my worst thing, and then I change it like later, like through as we start talking about the film. But um, I can't say the beginning's goofiness, because I mean, like, I think that was intentional. I
Mm-hmm.
think it, like, because there's a lot of stuff that is over the top,
Yeah,
and I kind of found that I think that was intentional. So I'm like, yeah, I'll probably, I'll put a hold on my not feeling, or yeah, what I'm not feeling, and my worst thing, as we continue talking, or as we keep talking. Excuse me.
sure. Yeah, and just mentioning the opening. Yeah, it was like they wanted to accentuate all the stuff that is really jarring and off-putting about this character. They just hyper do it, and it makes sense that he's like at a peak point of stress, and so all those elements of his personality are just kind of shining through. And to be fair, because the early scenes, he's trying to get some breakfast, and he's dealing with this real idiot person working at a cafe who is just a rude asshole, and I guess oblivious to the fact they're a rude asshole. And yeah, so we see Barry just, yeah, being that Zack Snyder version of the Barry character. And then so I was like, oh boy, like, is this where we're gonna get this whole movie? Because the trailers kind of made it seem like that was gonna be what we got. But once push comes to shove, and Barry has to be the leader, be the one kind of making everything happen, and puts on his serious cap. I feel like that is when the character starts to really feel more like he's not just a comedy relief kind of joke of a character, and he really does have strength to him. What do you think about how that character is coming across this time?
I concordly agree. Again, I can't really state otherwise. I can't say like, oh, this is what the character made me feel like from previously when we were watching, or in like Zack Snyder's Justice League, because, well, I didn't watch it, so
Oh,
I
oh yeah,
have nothing to base off of.
I forgot. Yeah, you didn't even watch the original cut, right?
I've watched some of it, but largely I'm not like, sure, scenes are coming back to me, but I'm like, they're not the same, or they're just different.
Oh, that's interesting then. Yeah, coming in with almost a blank slate for this character. Ah, yeah, and I guess in that regard, knowing that you are a fan of Flash in the comics and you watch that television program, I guess both television programs. Huh. Yeah, what would you think of this version in this movie?
So this is largely similar-ish to Grant Gustin's The Flash 2014, if I, can be specific here. And the basic storyline is the Jeff Johns version of, to separate Barry Allen from Wally West and maybe Bart Allen. Is he has tragedy. He's very different than, when the original creators wrote him. Again, the original way Barry Allen was written is kind of just, or originally, yeah, the original Barry Allen's very like milk toast. Everybody says he doesn't really have much personality to him. You and I know him best from what Darwin Cook did with him, excuse me, in The New Frontier. And we kind of like that characterization. As little as he had to do in that, we did enjoy kind of what he was doing there. But here, yeah, it's largely there's a lot of similarities between this and, like I said, Grant Gustin's Flashpoint, or Flash, excuse me, except there's none of Flash's rogues gallery in this. We don't see Gorilla Grodd, we don't see Professor Zoom, and we don't see
Mm,
Captain Cold. So I found that pretty interesting, that we largely use villains that we've already seen before. And well, then there's obviously the kind of overall villain, which is interesting, but we'll get into that
yeah.
soon. But again, for I remember when Ezra Miller they were initially cast as the announcement in like 2015 or whatever it was. The initial cast for Flash in Justice League, or Dawn of Justice, whatever it was. I remember what little posts I was on, like what forum posts I was on, or message boards I was on. back then. I can remember there was some discourse where people were like, "Oh, why couldn't it have been Grant Gustin?" Even the Arrow star Stephen Amell, he was a little bit peeved off as well, thinking like, "Come on, couldn't Grant Gustin have played him instead?" But they instead went with a different idea. So I, I will admit that I was probably on the not agreeing with Ezra Miller just based off of what everybody else was saying, but just like, yeah, why, like, kind of like let's give these guys who are on TV, like, something like, let's bring them into the movies,
Hmm.
and we'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, I definitely was trepidatious, and also kind of like you, very like, our arms crossed coming in, being like, all right, impress me, and tip my hat, eat my own words. I was impressed.
Yeah, and to be fair to those people, I mean, when those trailers for that Justice League were coming out, and they were just, it was the Flash was almost like a Jar Jar Binks in that those trailers. It was like every time we saw him, it was making some just stupid crack, and that was basically his role in that original cut, was just the terrible comedy relief guy. So it's I blame the studio for going in that direction, and we could have had this better version of the Flash all the way through. They just didn't, serve Ezra Miller right with how they presented him. And it is a shame that on the final one they finally get it right. But I guess what can you do? And at least we got something that justifies this version. And how'd you feel about the younger Barry that we get?
I guess a good character contrast, and definitely there were points where older Barry was like, "Yeah, I cannot believe how like annoying I am," and so it's almost like I wonder if that is a bit of like meta commentary, and poking fun at his performance in either Joss Whedon's Justice League, or even however Barry acted in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, I also wondered if that was a little kick to that, because this thing is all over meta. It's just everywhere. It seems like the crew behind this were digging deep to all the DC stuff, so maybe they were, yeah, kind of giving the finger to Joss Whedon, considering I'm sure he pissed off all the people in the DC crew with his behavior on that film. So, huh. But yeah, no, I really I appreciate that contrast, and yeah, even though the younger Barry definitely features a lot of those annoying characteristics, I feel like Ezra Miller just got a better balance with it, and contrasting it with the more serious one, I feel like that the humor actually worked well as a kind of counter to how serious the other Barry was.
Again, I think yeah, they were really trying to contrast. I don't know, apologize, but definitely trying to contrast to show like even within like two movies, look how far this character has come. Look how more serious, and I mean, yeah, it's really, truly, older Barry is a lot more serious, and he still has again. This is why Dan of Geekvolution probably likes Barry Allen the Flash, because you don't tell me that even in the beginning with like him getting reamed out by his boss, you couldn't, like, come on, that's like pure Spider-Man, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see those connections there.
I wonder if this is I don't know, because this is like, because I wonder if does Flash stand up even in his own movie with his other characters, with the other players of the piece. I wonder. I think he does, but it's with those emotional moments. Not that the other characters and players aren't giving a performance, but I'm just saying, like, comparing the MCU Spider-Man, who's a lot, again, an adaptation. It's a different take on the classic Spider-Man stuff,
Hmm.
where he's kind of got the help of the Avengers with him, and he is an Avenger, and before he is like a web swinging, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Now, do you mean does he hold up against the other characters around him in this movie, or with the Justice League and the Snyder stuff?
I guess I should. Yeah, pardon me. I didn't explain myself fully. It goes back to the beginning of like the conception of this film, is that can Flash support his own film without the
Hmm.
need of other DC iconography?
I see. Yeah.
And I think yes, to a point, of course. I mean, that first season did have some, special guest stars of DC characters, but for the most part, that first season kind of stuck with his story. However, you know, botched it was, or whatever. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, Flash could probably do his own film, and handle his own film without everybody else. But again, this is like this was the safe version. This was they chose to go the safe route, and I think it worked out for them.
Yeah, and it was always Barry was always the central focus. Like those other characters were clearly supporting, and they filled out their role. And I'm sure in terms of the studio being wary, like, oh, are people even still interested in this series at this point? Having something like Michael Keaton coming in would make older audiences who are maybe grown tired of this stuff would come back just to see him. Which I'm sure they were also trying to do with that Batgirl movie that got shelved. So
Again, that's maybe that I wouldn't say that's my like absolute worst, like, but I will say that that is a problem of Warner Brothers again not being in full control of themselves.
yeah,
They're very unsure. They're indecisive. They don't exactly know what they're doing. They're butthurt that Disney is, clearly they're superior and they dislike that. But so they're, doing anything they can to, get ahead of them. But hey, whining's not always gonna, do yourself a better favor. But sorry, that's
yeah,
I don't know where I'm going with that.
yeah. We could do a whole bonus episode discussing their reactionary tactics with this universe, but maybe we'll save that for discussing the rest of these films down the line, which we'll get to in this. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my apologies. Let's stick with the Flash.
Yeah, and I feel like the one thing to address before I guess maybe two more things to address before we get into spoilers is, yeah, one, how do you feel about Michael Keaton, and then two, how do we feel about Supergirl? But I guess we can start with Michael Keaton.
Okay. How do I feel about Michael Keaton? I'll go with you in that it's not a full. It's an adaptation of Tim Burton's Batman, because he's doing a lot of things here that the original Batman probably would not have done, especially for his age. No offense to Keaton, I don't know how much he's in the
Yeah.
suit, but all those acrobatics, it's like I didn't see this in the original, in both Batman '89 and then Batman Returns.
Yeah, he couldn't. The suits were too heavy. He could barely move.
Did you notice that, maybe minor spoilers, that he had a different suit that allowed him to turn his neck?
What'd you say there?
I apologize. Did you notice how I think he had a different suit later on where he could turn his neck?
Oh, yes, yes.
I think that was intentional.
Yeah, and the suit that we do see him in was it was like a combination with some pieces from '89 and then mostly returns, and then yeah, a couple updated bits with the armor and the neck. Yeah, so it
I
was like
don't
a
know.
nice marriage.
I don't know if this is the same thing, or I don't know. I don't think this is a spoiler. You can tell me if it is or not. But when they're inside the Batcave, that shouldn't be
No,
a
that's in the
spoiler, right? Because
trailer.
that's in
Yeah,
the trailer, right? Thank you. So when they're inside the Batcave, and younger Barry is in there, and he's freaking out, he's flipping out. I was like, it's Batman stuff. I wonder if that was also a like potential meta commentary over like fanboys.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, you could feel the glory shots of like, look, we've got the old Batmobile here. We all loved it, and here it is once again. Like you could tell behind the scenes that they are probably themselves just, yeah, gushing over being able to be a part of that, being resurrected.
I mean, but I wonder if that's also like, I want to say deconstruction, but also like, look at how pathetic you guys look on
Oh
screen or sound on. That's what I kind of meant. Um,
no, I think there was a loving hand by the filmmakers here.
okay. I mean, I guess that is true, but I also looked at it from a cynical perspective of, look at like these, sheep or whatever you want to call it, these
Damn.
seals, whatever you want to, however you want to call it, these internet people who are easily pleased, of like, you show them, or general audiences as well, not just internet people, but general audiences, where it's just like, hey, look at this, it's a reference to this, and like, look at how good. So it's them on screen. It's just like, and then Barry's the serious, like, our older Barry's the more refined people, like, I can't say it myself because I'm not a refined person, but basically, like, look at how stupid you, like look great now, how look how stupid you are.
Damn. No,
Yeah,
I definitely didn't get that.
that's oops.
But I'll say, as again, I already mentioned how much I love Batman '89. Yeah, no, it was definitely nice to get a chance to see that old Batcave and have the old Batmobile, and I even loved that the main universe one, Ben Affleck, the Mercedes that he was driving around looked like it was very much a reference piece to the Batman the Animated Series. Wasn't exact, but I was like, oh, I feel like that's what they're trying to recreate here, and I think that's a nice touch too. And it was kind of funny to think that, I mean, was it just last year that we saw the Batman resurrected, and then now this movie we get yet multiple other Batmans, and that was interesting to think.
Yeah, and this doesn't. I will say I'm happy that this doesn't put down. Not that it should be putting down, but I was okay with this. I was actually like genuinely okay with seeing like a different take on Batman.
Yeah,
Like I had no problem with that. It doesn't throw Matt Reeves the Batman under the bus, which is what I love.
yeah, no, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it feels like it's a completely different world and very different flavors, and I like that. They can just coexist like that. But speaking of coexisting, how do we feel about this new element with Kara being inserted?
Inserted. Is that also somewhat spoilers? Or I mean, she's in the trailer, but
Yeah.
here's okay. So here's the thing. I actually thought that was Superman's daughter.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Um, maybe this is a bit petty of me. I apologize, but usually whenever I think of Supergirl, I think of a blonde woman.
Yeah, and I don't know if you recall, but those internet the trolls were up in an outrage at the time that,
Oh wow.
oh no, one, it's woke that we're bringing in Supergirl because we used to have Supermans and now woman, so woke equals. And then two, they were like, and it's extra woke because she looks like she's in some way Latina.
What?
So woke crap, we refuse to see it, blah blah blah. You know those people.
Huh. Oh, okay. I mean, again, I didn't like. I apologize. I don't mean to sound like them or anything like that. Even though I think I already did something. But yeah, usually when I think of Supergirl, she's usually drawn blonde hair. But I have no. I very much liked the actor who portrayed her in
Yes.
this. Very much so. Very very good looking actor as well, I must say.
Yeah, and I feel like she had a lot of intensity, and I think that that all played well, especially considering her circumstances in this film, which we'll save for spoilers. But yeah, no, I like the flavor that she brought, and I hope that they could do something more with her. I wouldn't mind seeing her, even if it's a different variation of her. Maybe in a different universe, there's a different version of her that we could use. Yeah, I feel like this actress definitely brings something to the character that is new, especially for the films. So I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see her come return in some capacity. I don't know how, but I definitely would not be remiss, depending on how they write her. But I would definitely not be remiss if they brought her back on screen. Yeah, her role in this is functionally like, not to boil it down, but yeah, it's just another. I don't know if it's consequence is the word, but definitely like another change because like again the butterfly effect, I mean, from Flash's meddling with time travel. So of course like they were going to like replace her with Kal-El, which I was okay with. The part with the I guess the other switch with Man of Steel's nature, if you try not, it's kind of a weird spoiler, but like not fully. I was okay with that. I also should have seen that coming, but I was like, huh, I guess they did that.
Yeah, we can discuss that in a moment. Yeah, we can probably just jump right into spoilers now. It's been half an hour.
All right, so Caleb, you know what to insert bending the elements spoiler sting in here, so our audience can clearly know, because we're not subtle about it at all. This is the spoiler section.
This section of the podcast contains spoilers for all seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Enter at your peril.
facade. I come from a world far from yours. I have journeyed across an ocean of stars to reach you. For some time, your world has sheltered one of my citizens. I request that you return this individual to my custody. For reasons unknown, he has chosen to keep his existence a secret from you. He will have made efforts to blend in. He will look like you. But he is not one of you. To those of you who may know of his current location, the fate of your planet rests in your hands. To Kal-El, I say this. Surrender within 24 hours. Or watch this world suffer the consequences.
So Barry, well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler if you know it, but like, I'm happy they ended the movie the same way they started, which is like Barry undoing his, I guess, actions.
Yeah, yeah, and I was worried that they were gonna finagle it, and it being like he didn't really learn to take responsibility and just accept the way that accept the fact that he can't fix everything. I was expecting them to kind of mess with that, and I guess you could say that they did, but I feel like they did enough to show him having that character growth, which I appreciated.
So, are you disappointed that the ending has a CGI creature in it, or are you like, do you give it a pass given the nature of it?
Now do you mean I guess they're some sort of some sort of adaptation of like a Reverse Flash situation? At least that's what I thought they were going for.
So it's not so much Reverse Flash. It's more what I actually really like this version. It's Barry Allen himself, but it's the I can save everybody to its like logical extreme in a fatalistic intent,
Mm-hmm.
where it's completely like it's what is the definition of insanity?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I will admit, because of course we all knew coming in, if we'd seen any trailers at all, that there was two Barrys. And once we first saw that thing during, I think it's the second time that he goes back in time, maybe the first, I don't know.
It happened once he goes. No, it's the second time. Because the first time is when he realizes, oh, I can do this. Then he talks to Batman, and then he eventually does it with after Iris. The conversation with Iris.
Yeah, I'll admit I was almost immediately thinking, oh, is this going to be that other Barry? So that surprise wasn't a surprise, but I think that the way that they did it ended up being more satisfying than I would have expected initially.
I will reveal my simple-minded brain and the fact that once younger Barry had that, what is it? He had that piece of metal stuck in his arm. I was like, oh, that's when I clued in. So I'm not privy to that stuff.
No, that's fair. It's nice when they can hold those reveals, and again, I think that they did it a lot better than I was. Because again, that was still early in the movie, and I was still kind of like, okay, I don't know what this is going to be. The DC movies, they just in general have not been particularly thoughtful. So I ended up being surprised, not just that they contrived it better than I expected, but the fact that the emotion during that whole sequence of them all confronting each other actually played a lot stronger than I was anticipating.
Yeah, it's funny how we give some of the characters, the support characters, both Keaton's Batman and then Kara. We give her or we give them enough of character, but we don't give them arcs because largely, again, like you said, they're like non-forgettable, or they don't like. When I say this, I mean this utilitarian wise. They're like they're pointless by the end.
No, I wouldn't say point. I mean, yeah, in terms of what they
Excuse me.
can do or accomplish, yeah.
Yeah, like what I mean is when it's when it's the race between him and his younger self before we eventually see the insane Flash, the insane Barry, as I'm calling him.
Hmm.
They're gone. Like they not a thought is given afterwards. but I still like that because especially when what is it when Keaton confronts him over like mainstream Barry, excuse me, he confronts him over like how come you have the ability to go to like any timeline or whatever, why you have your powers back, how come you just don't leave? It's just like
Yeah.
because I'm here to help you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. You know what? That right there, that makes me. I'm like, all right, that's Barry Allen. That is a hero right there.
Yeah, and I love the idea of them giving him a chance to, in a way, form his own little Justice League. And I love that moment when Michael Keaton asks him, like, "What were you guys? What'd you call your group in that other universe again?" And he just kind of likes the sound of it. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds like something I would have liked to be a part of, and would like this chance to be a part of something like that before the end." I thought that was really cool.
It's actually funny. This movie can almost even go back to the original Flash comic, just in that we have because if you recall the one of the first Flash issues, not Jay Garrick, I mean, but Barry Allen's Flash comic, it's the one where it's like there's a brick wall, and then there's Jay Garrick on one side and Barry Allen on the other, and so it's them like coming towards like saving a child, I believe. So it's kind of like that as well. I didn't realize that until now. It's like, okay, they actually kind of go back and do the whole two Flashes idea. So it's like it's been there from the beginning. And I'll just say this: I was also surprised that this was a multiverse movie, and I give it my approval. Not that my approval means anything, but like I was okay with it. I was genuinely okay with it. In fact, I realize what this movie is, but weigh your thoughts in on me, please.
Oh, with the multiverse element?
Or just like with whatever I'm saying, if you have anything to comment on, because I don't want to go too far without hearing your ideas.
Yeah, no, I think that they handled that element in a different way than we usually see. I like the idea of time travel not being something that's so easily linear. It's not just you go back, you change one thing, and from that point on, everything's different. It's like you going back is an act of just, it creates all these ripples, and it can stretch back decades before you ever showed up. It just kind of disrupts things.
I gotta give credit to, even though it may seem ridiculous, I gotta give credit to the Keaton Batman when he explained it to everybody. I'm pretty sure I understand some of the stuff. I'm not like the quantum physics idea aspect of it, but like I think for an audience, a general audience, I'm pretty sure that's the most basic you could like explain it to without their brains going, "What?" Becoming a fried egg.
Yeah, they
unlike that fried baby.
Yeah, they do it quick, and they have the kind of visual metaphor, and yeah, I think they get it across very, very well. It does feel weird, like why is he suddenly so knowledgeable on this? But who knows what Batman's doing in his spare time, just researching all this stuff in his retirement.
Yes. So. No, that is definitely, yeah. What he's just like, becoming a polymath or a Renaissance man.
And I like that moment because initially Batman, or the Michael Keaton Batman's like, "No, I'm not interested in helping you guys. I'm in retirement here. You guys do whatever you're gonna do." But he, it's not like he just went to a room and just got drunk and stopped paying attention. He was letting them use his facilities and his resources, but he was still keeping an eye out. And I loved the scene when Barry was making his little plea to him and mentioned, even though so many things are different, there's still these little set things that don't seem to change, with you having an Alfred as well. So I like that. I thought that was a nice bonding point between the two of them. The fact that Alfred still had that kind of impact with this Batman. And I'll say it was quite nice seeing Jeremy Irons again. I always wish that he had more to do, and I that's the one thing I regret about them not getting their Batman movie, because I've never been a fan of the Ben Affleck version. I don't necessarily blame him for it, but it just never really felt like it was fully developed. But I feel like Jeremy Irons just had such a great idea for what Alfred could be in this version. And it was nice to see him again.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, he's just the guy in the chair. I mean, well, he does sound like Alfred. And
yeah,
it was a different take from, what we got from Justice League's version, or at least Batman versus Superman. But again, they were really course correcting and going, all right, let's go lighter. Let's go way wide. Honestly, I kind of wish that it started off darker. Like I wish it was in that Zack Snyder darkness, and how he treats the atmosphere and the cinematography. So it is that like you can't see anything, and then by the end, then everything's light. So it's like, okay, that's the subtle change of like things have changed.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe we're supposed to think that the Barry universe, the original universe, Prime, I guess, yeah, just is that kind of darkness. But to be fair, the Aquaman and the second Wonder Woman movie, especially, they had already gone into that lighter element, so
This is true.
they'd already kind of try change the vibe. And I guess Shazam too.
That's true. Yeah, Captain Marvel is supposed to be a lot lighter. So, and I don't know where Black Adam stands, but like, sure, it's weird. But
Oh,
so what I realized is that this movie is the like one. There's probably other movies that have done this as well, but at least with like a big budget movie, or like a mainstream Hollywood adaptation or piece. This is a very good definition of like a rogue like video game.
interesting, interesting.
So what a roguelike light is, or what rogue means in terms of gameplay, is that um, the game will have an endpoint. I don't know what it is, but the game will usually have an endpoint. But at any point, if you die, you perma die and you start back at the beginning and reset. And either the levels could be procedurally generated, or it's the same level over again.
Mm.
So I kind of was like, oh, I never thought of that. You could put Flash in a roguelike setting. And they kind of did that towards the end, where it's like, oh, we could just fix the timeline. I guess that's what Doctor Strange sort of did, that the first one. But I'm like, that was with I guess it was with the same thing. So it's not like time. Yeah, it isn't like Doctor Strange didn't do that, but I guess I like this more. That's not fair to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's such a minor element to that movie. That's kind of the climax.
It is seeded in through the movie when he was like muddling with it, the time stone with the apple. So it's
Yeah,
like, okay, like that's at least a good setup. But like I do, at least when younger Barry starts getting a higher, is just like I can save people. Starts getting delusional, and it's just like I could save Kara, I could save Batman, and he tries to do that. Um, that's when I'm like, oh, this is like a roguelite almost. I like that. I never thought we would have done it that way. Anyways, continue.
yeah, and I like that even though that Barry, I mean, again, he is the accentuated, ridiculous element of that Barry character, talking all the time, being kind of obnoxious and silly. They somehow did enough that seeing that transition when he became so obsessed with I have to be able to fix this, it felt natural. And his demise, I thought was actually impactful. I was like, oh wow, this is it's sad to see that this person who could have had so much potential just get stuck in this bump and not be able to get over it, and then wind up just waste his entire existence as the Flash, just stuck in this cycle trying to stop everything. And I don't know if he only focused on saving Kara and Bruce, or if he fixated on other things in different parts of the world or universe. Because I thought maybe that's why everything started to collapse, or maybe it was just he was causing so many waves of disruption by going back repeatedly that's why everything was crumbling.
Yeah, definitely giving another like demonstration as to the dangers of time travel and why you can't use it, because you all of a sudden are just like, I could say I could do all this stuff. It's like eventually the universe might just look like the Earth will look like mush, and you'll
Yeah.
just ruin the entire like timeline, and you yourself become mush and not even like a shadow of your former self.
And I guess speaking of the mush, do you want to talk about that big bit in the climax there?
Sure, why not? But at least I think it's funny. I didn't realize this till now, but yeah, I think younger Barry also has a character arc
Yeah.
where he does start off. I didn't think about this, but yeah, he starts off with behind the ears and very annoying intentionally, and then he sacrifices himself. He takes
Yeah.
a fatal blow from future insane Barry, and who he also is, which is hilarious, and wipes him out, wipes both himself and Insane Barry from the timeline, giving Prime Barry, I know this is weird, the chance to go back and undo what he did.
Yeah, he has a very similar character arc to the other Barry, where he learns that, oh yeah, I can't fix everything. I need to take responsibility for my mistake here. Because I mean, he realizes like, oh wait, that's me, and what I'm doing here is causing all these issues, and yeah, takes them both out. Yeah, I think they did that well.
Yeah,
And I liked seeing his slow development. I like seeing him get his powers, and he was like going crazy with excitement about it, and then forming like a brotherly bond with the other Barry. I think all that stuff was well developed.
yeah, I'm the bad guy, or I'm the problem.
Yeah,
Uh, sure, let's do it. Let's talk about the ending, I guess. Not the ending, but yeah, the
yeah,
multiverses colliding, which is like, okay, this is maybe the closest thing we're ever gonna get to um Crisis on Infinite Earths on film. I know they did it on screen on CW. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but just
yeah,
in universe, and through the use of what they did in this, we're just like, see, when the CW they did use a lot of stuff from like TV past and whatnot. And this, I mean, they probably could have pulled from there as well. But like, see, look at this. This universe had its own Crisis event.
yeah. And I mean, again, I can't. I mean, I don't know if I should knock them too much, but the effects were just as bad as they were throughout most of the movie. I think by that point I'd grown more numb to it. I was just like, okay, this just is what it is. But so many people that don't look like people, they just look like video game characters inserted into a film. But yeah, we get to see a lot of different variants in Superman in particular. Who did we all see? I guess we saw the Nick Cage, Kevin Smith version finally brought to the screen. Did you like that?
I was wondering if you liked that, not so much me, because I want to know if you liked it.
I thought it was okay. Again, it would have been better if he didn't look like a video game character. But I was like, that's kind of a sweet, you know, a gift to both those people who tried so hard to get that made. And
So, how many general audience members do you think like knew about that? And I just said general audience members, so obviously, yeah, I think I just answered my own question there.
well, I wondered about that with a lot of stuff. But yeah, that in particular, I was like, yeah, only a certain set is going to get this, and other people are going to be like, oh, that's funny, a Nick Cage cameo. They're like, wait, he looks like a video game Nick Cage.
I was pleased that they had Adam West in there to some capacity. I kind of wish they had Leonard Carter there in a similar capacity,
Yeah,
with just showing reels and having archival voice lines. I was kind of hoping for that, but yeah, I mean, at some point I was like, okay, I was okay. Let's just quickly talk about it because it's a side tangent, but it's the same thing. So I'm okay with the first set piece because it at least shows this is the level of CGI are going to deal with, like what we're going to have throughout the film. Obviously, there's other parts of CGI that are a lot more integrated and finished on and worked on. We hate to say it, just accept it. So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's what the Quicksilver type scene where or I guess Sonic the Hedgehog scene where he saves all the babies. We'll talk about it maybe later. I'm okay with that because at least is like, listen, this is the level of CGI you're gonna get. Please accept that. I'm like, you got it. So I was like, my standards were lowered and I wasn't, disappointed. Yes, it's unfinished. They did what they could.
yeah. You didn't find it jarring though. It didn't even with
I'm
those.
not saying it wasn't jarring, but it was too, I get it. It was like too ambitious for what they were going to do. And to render everything would have cost so much for the manpower that where they were, I'm like, you know what? I accept it. Like it looks like, a PS4, PS5 character, but you know what? At the end of the day, I know what they're trying to do. So like, it didn't take me out of it. Like maybe it did, but I was like, accept for what it is. Like I accept it.
Yeah, I'll say just sidetracking from this big ending. I think the part that was the most jarring, besides all the just the scenes with the two berries and that not working, it was that first scene with the babies. That if you were sitting next to me, you would have seen me putting my mouth into my hand and holding back laughter. I was like, oh my god, those babies just look unbelievably bad.
just so embarrassed for like, oh, look at the fact that like a writer or a director was just like, hey, let's let's do this, and um let's have CGI babies in the beginning. Like what?
And I like the scene. I think that the scene was fun. I like the tension of him being like, "Oh crap, I didn't have enough energy to manage this," and yeah, I thought that was fun. Him trying to get food in between. Like I like that moment when he's going towards one of the babies, and we think he's going for the baby, but then he just goes right past her, right to a vending machine. I thought that was a good little bit of comedic timing there.
I thought people might think of that as, being a little bit too dark. It's just like, oh, and he's gonna leave the babies to die. Like, all right, I guess that's okay. But no, it made sense for him to get more energy, which I kind of like
Yeah,
visualized as well. I think he'd need a lot more calories than just that, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that. But again, I think it goes to your frustration, but they're definitely relying too much on CGI at this
yeah.
point. Again, they're just too ambitious. Like they're so ambitious. Like what's on screen is like what the best that all these animators are gonna do. You could have AI do it, but then we're gonna have a lot of problems with that. So
Yeah, and that
I don't know, man. Like I see what you're saying, but like it's not gonna stop. Like we're still, even though this is where him and I will always disagree. It's like you gotta like vote with your dollar, even though you like fundamentally disagree with that.
it's not that I disagree with it. I think it's a nice idea, but it's an idea that has no actual effect. The studios, they don't care. If you vote with your dollar and be like, "Oh, I'm not supporting this," and enough people do it, they'll just go, "Okay, well, let's put it to bed for 5 years and we'll come back again." They they know there's always going to be people who are going to line up, even if the at the moment things cool down. I mean, they're back with another Indiana Jones. I mean, that's who would have guessed after that.
It's almost like people want to make money.
Exactly, and there's always going to be enough people to make money, even if they have to wait a little bit longer than they want to. But I was going to say, in watching this, I kept thinking, could they have done this as an animated movie? Could they have just got all these people in and just, I mean, they it would not have been as jarring if they had just, even if it was CGI animation. I feel like it would have been a more satisfying viewing for me, but maybe it wouldn't have made as much money.
If you had, Into the Spider Verse, maybe not look, but the same idea as Into the Spider Verse, this would have looked beautiful. That would have
Yeah.
like, then everybody would be like, the CGI looks so good. But
And I feel like people would be able, because I think a lot of the criticism is just the fact that people are shocked that a movie released in 2023 looks like this. I think a lot of people, it shuts off their ability to appreciate what's there. They're just like, oh no, fuck this movie. I can't believe how cheap and bad it is. But to be fair, I actually haven't seen a lot of the criticisms. Eric, when we talked with him, was one of the first people that I'd heard who'd seen it. I haven't really seen it in any of my DC groups, my Facebook. I haven't really been on it lately, so yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know much of the discourse other than like maybe if I'm on, a Twitch stream, it's just like, oh yeah, I heard it was bad. I'm like,
Yeah,
and whatever. I mean, it's their opinion, so they're just stating what it is. But it's like, especially on like a Twitch stream, it's not gonna. You don't have enough time to write down your thoughts in paragraphs or talk about it. So,
yeah,
I get it. I understand. But here now, it's like, we can discuss this stuff. So yeah, it's problematic, and it's still going to keep happening. Maybe one day, with the help of AI or whatnot. I'm not trying to take away jobs from people, but at the same time, it's like people are getting overworked. So that's the whole idea of AI, is that it can take work off of people's hands. It's ugly. It's complicated. So I'm just gonna put a pin in that and throw it
sure,
away for later. So the ending. With the
yeah.
universes collided, so we have Christopher Reeves, we have whatever her name is Supergirl, we have Nick
Oh
Cage,
boy,
as you said, we have
that's
who the hell else do we have? We had Jay Garrick, but I don't know who it was supposed to be.
yeah, the actor, yeah.
We had the original Fleischer Superman, not Fleischer Superman. We had what's his name?
Oh yes, George Reeves, I think.
George Reeves. That's right. We had George Reeves. And who did I smirk at as well?
Uh,
Help me out here. What? Who else did we have?
I'm trying to remember. It was all happening so fast. It was hard for
We
me.
missed an opportunity to do Ryan Reynolds, which was hilarious, but that's their choice.
Oh, for Green Lantern.
Yeah, they could have done that if they wanted to.
I didn't see the one from Superman Returns. I don't remember his name right now.
Brandon Routh. Now he did
Mm,
return for the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths,
yeah.
but obviously that was for that, not for this. But yeah, I was wondering if they were going to have Routh in there or not. They didn't have Keanu Reeves as Constantine. That would have been funny.
Yeah, no Val Kilmer.
I wish.
But one we saw Christopher Reeves, and then I think it was Helen Slater. I can't remember for sure. I guess I can pull my DVD off the shelf. It's right beside me.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, Helen Slater. Yeah, when she showed up, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh my god! Like, what are we doing? Calling back to that?" I guess it's. I mean, I guess it's in some vague way connected, but that does not.
Hey man, Jimmy Olsen showed up in her movie.
Well, well,
I wonder if Oliver Harper's going to talk about this.
and I was thinking,
I really hope he does.
and I wasn't thinking it seriously, but in my mind, I was like, "What are we gonna see next? Shaquille O'Neal is Steel? Are we gonna see him in there?"
I wish we did, but nope. No dice this time.
But yeah, no, they were definitely loving the fact that they get to connect all those pieces, the DC, I guess not universe, but DC history, all in that moment there. So, see, I can't take that away from. I thought it was fun for what it was.
Yeah, and I think it was also just a visual explanation, or at least it could tell the audience that hey, these worlds are merging. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I was wondering though. So I guess they were all just stopping and seeing it. They're like, because I wish we would have seen some more expression. It was just kind of them looking forward and be like, "What's this? Some other universe is peeking into our universe," and they weren't doing anything about it. They're just kind of watching.
Yeah, again, it reminded me a bit of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it's like, oh, it's colliding. That's not a good thing. Like, yeah, it'll like both when they intersect. That means boom.
Yeah,
But they could only do what Weta could only do so much with CGI faces. So it was just gonna be like, huh, or like
yeah.
pure bizarrement. So, um, oh, and then George Clooney shows up, which I also knew from a spoiler online. So it's like, thanks.
Oh wow, that's disappointing. Oh man,
So I was like, oh, okay. Um,
I did not see it coming.
it was also weird that in the beginning, this is also what made me think, oh, Flashpoint should have been at the end of New 52. It's because the costumes for both Batman and Flash, respectively, are, I believe, like kind of, well, at least Batman's is adapted, but it's very similar to their looks from New 52.
Oh,
I guess Batman's also looks a bit like Injustice Batman, but there's a lot of things that are picked across from different Batsuits. But I liked it. I liked how blue it was as well.
yep. Yeah, and I like that whole little opening action scene with Batman. I think that they did a good job giving him a little spotlight there. Since this is probably gonna be the last time we see this Batman.
Yeah, they
I think that was a respectable action scene for him.
they sent him out with some dignity, I guess, maybe
Yeah.
more than Henry Cavill, where he gets the luxury of confronting Black Adam. It's like, hey, we need to talk.
Oh, yeah, and his little CGI cameo in this, I was like, oh boy, that does not look good. Same with, but again, I guess we already addressed that stuff. But yeah, they did get him and Jason Momoa in there.
It was nice to see Gal Gadot as, or sorry, how do you say her name again?
Gal Gadot.
Thank you, Gal Gadot. Again, as Wonder Woman again, which maybe the last time we see her as Wonder Woman, but thumbs up for me.
Yeah, no, that was the moment when it was her and the Flash and Batman, and Batman had the lasso of truth wrapped around his wrist, and he was accidentally revealing too much. That I was like, oh, these three, I have a little bit of nostalgia. I wish that we could have gotten good stuff with them, because all the actors I think were good. It was just the movies that just didn't really. I mean, the Snyder Cut did what it did. I think that was more dignity for them. But
Like, yeah, it's the direction, it's the writing that you were, not pleased with. Maybe the movie itself as well, but like, yeah, it's so funny for like a brief glimpse or for a moment, it's like what we could have had,
yeah.
and it's like, dang. Oh well. Do you think? I don't. I'm just gonna go there right now. This is not the end of the conversation, but do you think you enjoyed this more than some of the recent MCU films? And I'm sorry to go there. I'm only just like asking because like how do you feel this stacked against some of like is this different enough from the MCU formula?
Yeah, no, it definitely feels different from the MCU. Yeah. It has much more of well, I mean, again, it's got a lot of the DC problems where it's just like, oh, I can see a lot of good in here, but there's so much stuff that feels not fully professional. That I feel like that's across the board with almost every one of their movies lately, and this has that. So it feels a lot less polished than any of the MCU movies have been. Maybe Thor: Love and Thunder is the closest in terms of the unpolished element, but no, it feels like it's got more. Like it has a director behind it that's really trying to do something in his own flavor. Um, and some of the most recent MCU movies have definitely lacked that a lot. Not Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 or Eternals, but many of the other ones.
Yeah, I can't speak for all those, of course, but just from the discourse that I've heard from people, not again, I guess I'm with you with like Phase 4 was the experimentation phase, and people are just like this is a joke. Don't do like stop the MCU. It's just like wow, people definitely are decisive nowadays. Um,
Yeah, and I will just say for those folks, I feel like a lot of those folks were much higher on the movies that I thought felt more formulaic and forgettable. I guess they just like the formulaic and forgettable stuff more.
hey man, people are simple minded. Like at least some
No,
people might
no,
be.
I don't know
That's
about
that's
that.
so that's so terrible of me. I'm sorry.
I appreciate the MCU, yeah, trying to be different from what they've been, even though they're not always successful. I think it's much stronger for them to keep trying to be different, although maybe not as financially successful.
Well,
So
I think in a way, no, I think, to, I guess to give the benefit of the doubt, like they have, like people will go see it regardless. Like I've said before, the MCU doesn't need to do much marketing because people will go see it regardless.
yeah,
Maybe, of course, yeah, I'm not saying don't spend any money on marketing. Like, yeah, you still got to market the film, but I don't think they need to, and maybe they are doing this. I have no idea, but they don't have to, spend as much money. It's just now you could say like, oh, have you gone to see the new MCU film? It's like you can spread it by word of mouth alone without having to do much.
yeah.
Large amounts of advertising. So it's like maybe it is a good idea that if you think of them as albums, if you think of each phase
Hmm.
as an album, yeah, this was their time to really experiment. So I guess I can what I'm giving praise to the MCU. It's just like yeah, give like they are allowed to experiment now because they've had 3 albums that were very successful.
Yeah, and I'll just say to back to your initial question, it definitely does feel distinctly divergent from the MCU house style. This feels very much like it's got a different flavor, and so I can appreciate that. And again, yeah, it's not always successful. There's lots of things where I was unintentionally laughing at the movie, but that mainly comes down to the production side of stuff. So
Yeah, this is by no means a perfect movie or anything like that, and yeah, it's not like this isn't a CGI fest like we said it isn't, and
yeah,
that's the same thing with all or with most of those MCU films as well. But like, what isn't CGI infested nowadays? What's that? Indie films that aren't mainstream? What?
yeah. So people always get stuck in those weird bubbles where they're like, "Oh, the only movies that come out these days are superhero films." I was like, well, are you even half paying attention to what's coming out? You really think that's all that's coming out? But the people, just hyperbole, I guess, but it bothers me.
I mean, to be fair, like the 2 most recent film reviews we've done from like straight from the movies, at least what I've done, are mainstream films. So like, I'm a hypocrite
Yes.
for that.
No, I'm sure you're aware that other movies are coming out. You just don't go to see them.
Yeah, but I should be going to see them because these shouldn't matter. The real films should.
Well, maybe I'll start hitting you up again for random flicks. I'm gonna go see the new Wes Anderson movie this week, and
Is that this week or is it already out?
It's already out, and yeah, Asteroid City.
There you go. Let's. I've heard nothing but terrible things.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about it.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, where to go next?
So Nora Allen, the crux behind the film.
Yes. We don't get too many scenes with her, but the scenes that we do get with her, I think that they picked a really good actress, and her chemistry with Ezra Miller, I feel they got that element very well done. And the movie would have a lot less impact if those scenes didn't play as well as they do, especially their final scene together when he's choosing to undo the the choice to save her at the start when he goes and meets her. I thought that scene was surprisingly oh, what's the word?
Moving.
I guess heartfelt. Yeah, moving exactly.
Yeah, that was the big emotional and I think had they not gotten that right, I think the movie would have probably not been as redeemable as it really as it is right now.
Yeah,
I mean, again, yeah, there's stuff that doesn't work in it, but honestly, that was the core of it, and I'm glad the director and the writers realized that and made me care about that family basically. What did you think of the dad? I guess the dad was just the dad.
no, I liked him. Yeah, I think they recasted. I don't think actually. I think it was what was his name from Alien Covenant? I think what was his name?
I didn't see it, sir, so I don't remember.
Oh yeah,
Guy Pierce, Michael
no,
Fassbender.
no. I guess I'll quickly look. Sorry.
That's all right. I also like the fact that Tamara Morrison also made a cameo. That was kind of a little fun little, I guess. Again, like it's everybody was in this film.
Yeah, it felt like a celebration. Like they're really wanting to, kiss the history of not just this extended universe, but the whole kind of DC history. And yeah, no, I appreciated that, especially if this is the last entry in the right before the turn happens. But it was Billy Crudup.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah, I remember you saying that somewhere in one of our speakeasies, where it was Billy Crudup, and I was like, oh, let's go. But yeah, this is it the guy from Office Space?
That sounds right now that you say it. I recognize the actor, but I didn't know what I knew him from.
Because I kept thinking it was what the hey is that guy's name? Like we just saw him recently in Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh,
The dad.
yeah, the dad.
Our kaiju veteran, Bud, whatever his name is, played live action Sterling Archer.
Ah, man, now that name's stuck in the back of my.
Yeah, and he was in Peter Jackson's King Kong as well.
Yeah, which is also right beside me, even closer than Superman. So I'll pull that down.
You mean Supergirl?
Supergirl. Thank you. It is. Oh, and of course he's not listed in here.
Why do I think of Justin? It's not Justin. It's
Let's keep going. Yeah, let's.
Yeah. Either way, those I think the scenes were cool. We also forgot Iris.
Oh yes, and I'll get to her just briefly. I wanted to mention.
Of course.
I really like the scene too when Barry first comes to the past and meets his parents, and they're like, oh, his dad's like, oh, you look so old. Like, what's that college doing to you? And they have their little dinner there. I thought that played really sweet as well, and I liked his his reaction when he saw Barry comment. And Barry is just like, what the hell is he doing? He's like kicking over a garbage can, like fumbling towards the. I was like, what the hell is this guy? Is he like walking chaos? Just
see, I thought that, but then first I thought it was just some like drunk, like
yeah.
or somebody on on a substance of some sort, and it was like a robber or something like that coming to the house to like cause mischief had ill intent, and it wasn't. I was like, oh, it was Barry, like it was younger Barry. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's just like a weirdo, I guess. It's like, oh fuck these garbage cans, but. I like when he tackled him. He's just like, oh, excuse me, I gotta. Yeah, he has this little toilet humor joke there. Go shit on the lawn, and then he knocks him down. I like that, how that played out. But yeah, who? Sorry, where'd you want to go again?
Iris West.
Iris West. Yeah. Doesn't have too much in the movie. What would you think of her?
I liked her. That's not that's very like bland, and there's you got a very vague and ambiguous. Like, what do you mean by that? Is this how she was in Snyder's version of Justice League?
I was trying to remember if it was the same actress. I don't really remember her. I remember that she was in it, or at least I think she was. I don't know. I feel like she was in it, but I don't really remember what she did in it. So maybe that's telling.
Fairly certain you told me she was, but anyways.
Yeah, I think I remember the part that she would have been in, but I don't remember what she did.
So I thought, at least thinking what you said about her being in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I thought this was the role she was in, and like she and Barry were going to start off as a couple already, like they did in Flashpoint. But no, these two are like seeing each other for the first time after years, and it's like, oh, okay, so they're starting their relationship. So it's weird because in the comic, I believe Barry and her are already like a couple.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Again, adaptation. Not don't worry, I'm not gonna like scream out like this is wrong. Like what do they do? It's just like, oh, fair enough. And I guess it is Iris being the impetus for. Well, okay, yeah. So I do like the fact that this is the first time Barry also has the ability to time travel, and this is what gives him the idea to do it. So I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like he's never learned how to time travel. He always should. It's like, no, he hasn't discovered that. So it's like, of course, the first thing he thinks about when he does go to time travel is, go save his mother. And he even brings that up with Bruce Wayne and is like, I could
Hmm.
also save your parents. And I like how Bruce is like,
Oh,
just let it be.
yeah. No, I thought that Ben Affleck played that scene really well. You could see, and when Barry's like, "Oh, do you want to go out for have a meal together?" And he's like, "Not this time." You could tell that him mentioning about his parents just it stung.
Like, I don't think there was, just correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe this is subjective, but I don't think there was like almost any terrible performances in this film.
No, yeah, it felt like everyone came to play and everyone was doing. It didn't feel like anyone was just showing up just to do a brief job, especially the old Justice League crew. Like it didn't feel like Gadot just showed up to collect a paycheck and was like, okay. It felt like maybe she knew that this was probably going to be her last one too, and so she tried to go out with a smile.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So I want to, that's another praise that everybody actually tried. No, I want to say, I can't say tried, but everybody put on a good performance, and I didn't feel as though there was any bad acting.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I guess, yeah, I thought, I didn't actually realize Iris is going to be in this film, but I guess she suited the role. She was good. I was wondering if she was ever going to show up in the other time. Well, we said like, oh yeah, like younger Barry's going to go out on a date with her, and that was it. It's like, and no.
Yeah, I liked that element was there, and I liked the whole element. I thought it was really smart to have Barry depowered for most of the movie. I thought that created a very different dynamic, and I liked the way that they played with that and forced him to be that kind of a guy directing someone in a chair, even though he was out in the field putting himself at risk, but forcing him more into that leader role, just in the fact that he couldn't really do much on his own. I thought that was a really good way to grow his character.
Much like Batman, or at least Keaton's Batman, he has the experience. That's what like makes him still viable, or at least useful in battle.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really good job in his final battle, because of course, what's Batman going to do going against this army of Kryptonians? Kryptonians?
Yep. No, it's Zod and the other Kryptonians.
Oh, okay, yeah. I knew it was them. I just Kryptonians for whatever reason sound wrong in my mind just then. But yeah, like what the hell is he gonna do up against them? So I like that they had him up in the skies, just doing like cover fire kind of thing. I thought that was a smart use of Batman in that kind of scenario.
I guess in a way, I also have to say this reminds me also of the closest thing we'll ever get to, what is it, a Flash with both, what is it, both Barry Allen and Wally West, where we have like the older Barry Allen and then like the younger Barry Allen.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like, I guess that's also another thing that we'll never, maybe we'll get with James Gunn as the, I guess, DC guy now, but for
Yeah,
now it's like that's the closest we're gonna get, I guess, on screen, which is nice.
And I like the dynamic with the older Barry and Kara, that he was kind of her into humanity, like the first person who treated her, the way that you should treat another person. And that's what kind of gave her that opening to embrace, like, maybe this is a species worth saving. Maybe I shouldn't let my people from my species just eradicate them.
Yeah, especially when Zod does reveal his plan as to, wanting to terraform the entire planet. And yeah, I actually am okay with like Kara being on board with like, yeah, the humans showed you nothing but fear and withheld like held you in
Yeah.
that prison. So you would have every reason to side with Zod.
Or at least like step aside and be like, I don't have any dog in this fight. Do whatever.
Oh, and as I mentioned before, the change from in this timeline is that instead of Kal-El being um, having the DNA sequence to rebirth the entire Kryptonian species, instead Kara has it.
Yep, and they killed him as a baby. That's damn.
So did he? Oh yeah, because he didn't have any of the genetic codes, correct?
Yeah, I guess they did all their tests and they just used him up, and yeah, they didn't get what they were looking for. So they're looking for her now. And did you get a sense that maybe there could have been a romance developed between Barry and her?
I was thinking, well, it wasn't just that; it's Witchberry, because that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, she seemed like she was more attached to the older one, but yeah, no, both of them seem to have something for her.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I never thought that would be a. There's a cool like little fan fiction idea of like, hey, if we explored this angle, it could almost be the same age potentially. Anyways, I'm not going there, but yeah, I definitely felt that there was some chemistry potentially between the two, but hinting at, of course, not like outright, which I like.
Yeah, and I like the role that she played in helping Barry get his powers back. And I like the fact that the other two were just like, all right, we don't feel like this is a good idea. This seems crazy. But they still trust him enough to let him go ahead with it. His little Frankenstein routine.
Which was quite a. Did you somewhat roll your eyes at the fact that when Batman is helping him perform the experiment, he has a bat kite?
I love that. That felt like something right out of Batman 66. I was like, of course, everything's got to be a bat logo, even this. It's just, I thought that was fun.
You are not wrong, sir. I was like, all right, I know what this movie is. It's like it's trying to be fun, so
Yeah.
I can't help but have a smile on my face.
And I appreciate them using that old Tim Burton, or not Tim Burton, the old Danny Elfman theme so much. Whenever that Batman was doing his little hero moments, I didn't mind that.
Yeah, I may not be as I haven't watched a lot of '89. More like I haven't consumed it as much as you have. It's one film, but like I haven't like rewatched it over and over again like you have. So, but what I do always go back to is the Elfman score, and I was like, all right, I gotta okay. That was that's I like that score a lot. Um, Speaking of which, was he the composer for this film?
I don't think so. I don't think I saw his name in the credits.
Okay, because the music was trying to have a identity of its own.
Mm-hmm.
I have to listen to it again. Maybe I'll listen to it like on the internet somewhere because, I feel like it was really trying to not be generic superhero music.
Yeah, and it was okay. I think the Danny Elfman stuff stood out the most, but the rest of it was I thought decent enough.
I guess maybe not my worst thing, but what I'm unsure about is the jokes, all the humor.
Mm.
Because there was some stuff that landed and some stuff that I was like, okay, is this MCU levels of humor or is this like lowest common denominator humor? Because I was like, there were some jokes I laughed at, some jokes that I didn't laugh at, and other things that probably weren't funny, but I did laugh at anyways.
Yeah, I didn't have too many laughs. One of the ones that I did actually have a chuckle, which I rarely do in the theater, was when Barry he picks up the younger Barry and they go through this glass door, and then once they go through the door, that just opens. For whatever reason, that I just thought that was a good little visual gag.
That's yeah, no, that's funny. I will say I like the little the intangibility detail that we would never get with Kitty Pryde. where they can phase through walls. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that was really well realized and explains, how it works.
Yeah, and I also liked when they came to the Wayne Manor, and the younger Barry's like, "What the hell? Like, what is this? Is this hell?" For whatever reason, I thought that was funny because it's such a weird thing to say. Is this hell?
I know something that may have looked like completely ridiculous, but was trying to be, was the part where, what's it, when after the lightning bolt depowers Barry, and he is like, all right, I'm gonna phase through the wall, and then he like, what, didn't work, and then he goes around in circles to like of course the way Ezra Miller's running like is supposed to look ridiculous, and I'm like, all right, I guess that's funny.
And what makes it worse is that's how he looks when he's running in the CGI. It looked exactly the same. I was like, oh my gosh.
I guess I liked the display of speed, by the way. I think it's come a long way since was it Dawn of Justice, or
Yeah.
yeah, I guess, yeah, Dawn of Justice, but also I guess, what's his name, Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I didn't love the suit, but it was definitely a huge improvement over what they had before.
Yeah, that felt very much like, what the hey, that felt very much like a New 52 costume.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Yeah. I did like seeing the ring again. I thought they realized that decently as well.
Yeah, no, I actually, I was happy with that.
Oh, but unfortunately, just due to time constraints, we'll have to wind it down now.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I have much else to say about this film other than like I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you come up with the worst thing throughout, or not really?
Yeah, just come back to me at some point. It's at a later date
Sure.
because I got nothing. But what are you feeling, sir? Are you feeling this movie?
I'm feeling. I would say go see it. Set your expectations, just knowing that yeah, this isn't going to be fully polished. There's going to be some rough edges to get around, but there's a lot of heart. The writing is ultimately, I would say, satisfying. And even though it has the potential for, I could see people easily rolling their eyes and being like, "Oh, nostalgia overload. All this is references to the past." I can see people having that knee-jerk reaction just knowing what the internet is. But I think that reaction would be just wrong. I think that there is a real story at the core of all that fan service.
Yeah,
And yeah, a good one.
it's something that I think many people could relate to. Maybe of like if you had the ability to go back and change the course of history to save a loved one, would you do that? So it's like, you know what, basic premise.
Yeah,
Like if you put like that's the whole film. That's the whole film. So it's like that's the whole conversation in an elevator.
there you go.
No,
Yeah,
that's the whole plot of the movie in an elevator pitch or whatever it's called.
yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, and yeah, I think we both say go see it while you still can.
Yeah, would I watch it again? Would I own this? Yeah, I guess it's very weird to say, but yeah.
And yeah, no, I guess tune in for the next DC movie that comes out. We'll probably do this again. I don't know.
It's so weird because now I want to go and watch and or just yeah do Flashpoint, but just to show you how it compares, and even that's an adaptation, so I'm not going to say it's like a direct one, but
And I'll
yeah, I'm surprised.
and I'll use the end of this as an excuse to say tune in soon. We've been putting it off for many years. I'm not sure why, but I think at the now that this is over, I think it might be a nice time to go back and look at the history of DC live action films. I don't know if you're open to it, but yeah, I think we should start that relatively soon.
Well, I mean, we did the Swamp Thing stuff. That counts.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that counts. Yeah, so I can scratch that off the list. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll go chronologically, but we'll probably end at least with the DCEU stuff. Give some time to yeah, move away from these recent reviews that we've done.
Yeah, it's not the. I think there's not as many as Marvel.
No, definitely not.
Pretty sure Marvel has way more, which is hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I did both. I did a run through of both of them, and yeah, Marvel was just truckloads. Even though DC's been putting out movies for longer, yeah, a whole lot less.
Just okay, to finish this out, one more thing. Just one more thing.
Sure.
Which did you prefer more? This or No Way Home with the other two Spider-Men?
Uh, it's been too long. I feel like maybe,
I know. I'm sorry.
yeah, I would have to see that one again to really know.
Because it's kind of dealing, I didn't realize this until now, it's kind of dealing with similar ideas, not themes, but idea because I haven't seen it, but just like, there's a crossover with many different what that has more is villains than this, where I mean it has Michael Shannon, but like that's all the only like villain who's there. Well, I guess
Yeah.
of course Insane Barry himself, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's a good question of like which would people, I guess obviously Spider-Man's a much more success, or like No Way Home was a success because they brought back Garfield and Maguire. So maybe that was much more success than this, but I mean, right now for me, I put this one above No Way Home, but that's obviously not fair because I didn't see No Way Home.
Yeah, you didn't even see it. You
Yeah,
can't.
so that's like I said, that's not fair at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, as of now, it's like I put it above No Way Home.
Well, again, I don't know if that's. I don't think you can put it above. Yeah, you don't.
Asterix, asterix.
Yeah, I like it better than this movie I didn't see. Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, I'll go even more extreme. Even though I have seen it, I can't say because it's been 2 years since I've seen it. I only saw it once, so I don't have a fresh enough mind to judge.
Do you think you'll forget this movie? Well, I think it's possible. What am I saying? Like you've
2 years, I'm sure it'll. I'm sure all my memory of it will have faded a lot. Yeah,
yeah, probably.
but that's just about every movie that I see. 2 years is yeah. My memory isn't the best. It isn't what it used to be.
That's fair.
But maybe in 2 years' time, I'll be reviewing it again. Maybe in a commentary form or something. I don't know how long it's going to take to get through this other DC stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely see.
But thank you, Isaac, for just discussing this movie with me and seeing it. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, talking about it with you. So
Yeah, I'm just like kind of befuddled and surprised. I'm happy that I went to see a film with you, and I wasn't looking at my phone all the time. I didn't give it up and go to the bathroom. I actually like sat through it and gave it its time it deserved, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm just shocked.
well, hopefully we'll do some more of that this summer. But do you want to close it out for us?
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, those in between and affiliated, for listening to us. I hope it was enjoyable. Maybe we swayed some people. Maybe we just made enemies. Who knows? But yeah, I would recommend this film for other people to go watch. And maybe we're just insane people, and we're not with the discourse. But till next time, don't be messing with time travel, because I mean, unless it's already happened and yeah, I don't know. Oh, and all I could think of when Barry had to go back in time and was like, "I got to give her a can of tomatoes." All I could think of was the Code Mint skit of like the soup aisle. Everybody knows what that is.
Oh, not me.
Till next time, peace.